grateful for our colleagues in the media from the Indian Ocean Rim countries who are here. There are 31 of them, and I'd like to welcome them specifically to this first interaction that they are attending in the Ministry of External Affairs. Our primary focus today would be a briefing on the 12th meeting of the Council of Ministers of the Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation. I have here with me Secretary Economic Relations, Mr. Sudhir Vyas, who is India's senior representative India's representative at the senior officials meeting of the IOR-ARC, and he will brief you today on the events leading to the IOR-ARC. After that, we will open the floor for questions on IOR-ARC, and following which we will briefly stop so that we permit Secretary ER to leave, and then if you have any other questions on any other issues that you may like to ask, I'll be willing to answer those questions. Before I begin, I would also like to introduce, we have along with Secretary Economic Relations, we have Mr. Dinesh Bhatia, and who is Joint Secretary Multilateral Economic Relations, and Mr. Charanjit Singh, who is Director Multilateral Economic Relations. Both of them will assist Secretary ER in case you have some questions which are of such deep value that he would require assistance from others. With that, I open the floor and request Secretary ER to make a few opening remarks, and then we will open the floor for further questions. Secretary ER.
Thank you, Obab. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and thank you for your attention, your interest in the subject. My welcome also to those friends from the media who are here for this important event. External Affairs Minister Mr. Salman Khurshid will be chairing the 12th meeting of the Council of Ministers, which is the apex body of the Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, which we refer to by its acronym IOR-ARC, on 2nd November at the Oberoi Hotel in Gurgaon. This meeting is the culmination of a series of interactions of bodies of this association, which will be preceded therefore by the Indian Ocean Rim Academic Group, the Indian Ocean Business Forum, the Working Group on Trade and Investment, which is a group of officials, government officials dealing with trade policy issues, and finally the Committee of Senior Officials, which I will chair tomorrow and day after. The meetings have already begun with the academic group having met yesterday. Today, the Working Group on Trade and Industry is deliberating issues of trade facilitation and so on. But tomorrow, the Business Forum will meet to take up its agenda of business-to-business cooperation. The Committee of Senior Officials will meet alongside to pull the strings together and take stock of progress and decide upon its recommendations to the Council of Ministers, which will then meet on the 2nd and conclude this event. A few words on the background. The idea of such an association actually goes very far back, and you will be interested to know that our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, whose book Discovery of India, which predates independence, had envisioned a group of countries bordering the Indian Ocean and helping each other in tackling common challenges. A similar idea was mooted by the then Foreign Minister of South Africa, Mr. Botha, during his 1993 visit, and given a further fillip by Mr. Nelson Mandela in 1994. It was also mooted by the Shah of Iran in 1974 and subsequently explored by Mauritius in 1980s. So there is a very strong political will that underpins this association. And this led to a group of 7 countries, one from each side of the Indian Ocean: Australia, India, Kenya, Sultanate of Oman, Singapore, and South Africa. The so-called 7 meeting in Mauritius in 1995. These were called M7, Mauritius 7, to talk about enhancing cooperation on the rim. And in a joint statement, they agreed on, and I quote, interestingly, these words are relevant, principles of open regionalism and inclusivity of membership, with the objectives of trade liberalization and promoting trade cooperation. And this was expanded to the M14 with the addition of 7 more members, and the association was formally launched after 5 more members had joined in March 1997. This makes it the 15th year of the association's existence. Now, IOR-ARC is the only pan-Indian organization of its pan-Indian Ocean organization of its kind. A unique group of states on the rim of the ocean, which accounts for no less than 2 billion people. States that are characterized by diversities in size, population, culture, and economic development. A notable feature is the number of overlapping regional organizations which have their own rationale. And therefore, the members of IOR-ARC are also members of other multilateral bodies, ASEAN, GCC, SAARC, or SAC. And therefore, IOR-ARC has to increasingly position itself as an apex body, which takes into account the differing perspectives, the differing approaches, and binds them together into a unified whole. In spite of the diversity, over the last few years, the countries of the Indian Ocean rim have clearly come together on one account, that their strategic interests are served by the well-being and stability of the maritime world. That is what brings this association together and what has given it its increased relevance in the contemporary period. The Indian Ocean is the 3rd largest body of water on Earth, linking the developed economies of the West to the burgeoning powerhouses and markets of Asia and the East. 70% of global traffic in petroleum products and energy, and half the world's containers traffic transits across the Indian Ocean. Apart from its major reserves of oil and gas, the Indian Ocean rim is rich in resources, from fisheries, precious minerals, from agricultural wealth, to valuable human technical expertise. And the Indian Ocean has its challenges. We know the threats in parts of the Indian Ocean to maritime security, incidents of piracy that have taken place over the last few years. As the Indian Ocean region has been the victim of a tsunami in 2004. All this are issues that are of concern to the region. Therefore, the well-being and stability of the region has been and continues to be critical for the membership as well as for global economic growth. It's interesting that despite the global economic slowdown and the slow recovery, Indian Ocean rim economies performed well in 2011. In 2011, the combined GDP of IOR-ARC members was estimated at $6.5 trillion, up from 5.7 trillion in 2010, just 1 year. From 2001 to 2010, regional trade more than tripled, from $1.1 trillion in 2001 to $3.5 trillion in 2010. And the share of intra-IOR trade in global trade increased from 8.6 to 11.6. Regional investment trends have also shown a steady growth, both FDI inflows as well as outflows. FDI inflows into the East Asian Rim countries quadrupled into $201 billion in 2011 from a mere $50 billion in 2009. Share of IOR-ARC's global FDI inflows increased from 6% in 2001 to 13.2% in 2010. For India, the Indian Ocean occupies a particularly important position in our economic and strategic perspectives. Across the Indian Ocean moves 90% of our energy imports. It gives you a sense of the criticality of the well-being of this domain for us. And over 80% of India's international trade. India's total trade with the ring states has grown more than eightfold to reach $156 billion during the period 2001 to 2010. It was $156 billion last year. Our telephone and internet connectivity is largely dependent on quality undersea communication cable infrastructure. Let me talk a little bit about our association itself. Today, IOR has 19 members. Seychelles, which has joined as the 19th member at the last Council of Ministers meeting in Bengaluru last year. And these are Australia, Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, Iran, Kenya, Malaysia, Madagascar, Mauritius, Mozambique, Oman, Seychelles, Singapore, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, UAE, and Yemen. There are 5 dialogue partners of the association, namely China, Egypt, France, Japan, and the UK. There are 2 observer organizations, the Indian Ocean Research Group and the Indian Ocean Tourism Organization based in Gurgaon. IOR has established 3 institutions so far. An institution building, excellence in disciplines and areas of interest and relevance and value to the Indian Ocean Rim are a critical component, important component of the work of our association. Take for example the fisheries sector. The Fisheries Support Unit was established in 2005 in Oman for enhancing the cooperation in the fisheries sector, and an action plan is under finalization. And it is clearly realized by all members that active action in such fronts cannot be handled by one country alone. Cooperation can augment individual resources and produce goals. The Regional Center for Science and Technology Transfer in Tehran has the mandate for facilitating transfer of technology at a regional level and dissemination and commercialization of know-how in technology. Maritime Transport Council, established in 2010, is envisaged as a regional specialized agency for strengthening cooperation in maritime transport issues. I mentioned earlier that IOR is an association of tremendous diversities, including in economic levels of economic development and financial capacity. Therefore, it has instituted a special fund at the 6th Council of Ministers meeting in Tehran to help support projects, individual association projects, by some of its less developed members who may require additional financial resources to organize workshops, events, and exhibitions. In fact, India was the first country to announce an initial contribution to the special fund, and it's been followed by Iran, Oman, Yemen, China, and others. Last year, India announced a further contribution of $1 million at Bangalore. I'm happy to state that with this fund, we would like to put it to best possible use. We are also in the process of simplifying and laying out clear-cut procedures which enable this fund to be put to best use. Contemporary situation. When India assumed the chair of IOR for the first time at Bengaluru last year, the 11th Council of Ministers, chairmanship is for 2 years. There was clearly an expectation and a sense in the air that this association needs to add much more value to its deliberations. There is so much at stake in the Indian Ocean Treaty, and we need to put it to, or need to channelize it in a manner which can serve the interests and expectations of the nation. And so we made a beginning in Bengaluru last year by identifying 6 priority areas for the work of our associations. And the first, and all this I must mention, I should have mentioned this, the association's primary objective is economic well-being, economic cooperation for the welfare of the people. A lot of elements feed into this primary objective. And the first one of our priorities is one such: maritime safety and security, which includes anti-piracy operations. Whether we can coordinate our efforts and put our individual efforts to best use. Capacity building is the second, the core area of trade and investment facilitation. Again, as I mentioned earlier, IOR is not a monolithic body. It overlaps with other regional organizations and therefore has to find means and a way of organizing its work of trade facilitation and liberalization that does not conflict or run into conflict with the priorities of the others. So we follow a very deliberative approach. We can talk about it later. Third, fisheries. I mentioned this in the context of fisheries support in many countries, particularly, for example, off the coast of East Africa, talked about the amount of poaching that takes place in the very rich exclusive economic zones of fish. How do we manage, monitor, conserve, and make use of fish stocks? Do we know what the requirements? This is the second area of priority cooperation. Disaster risk reduction and humanitarian access. The region has suffered from a tsunami in 2004. Tomorrow, if there is an oil spill, considering the amount of crude that travels across the ocean, it will be devastating to one of the smaller economies. And therefore, humanitarian access and disaster management is a critical area which was identified as a priority. Academic and science and technology cooperation. I mentioned the academic group which just met yesterday. Do we know our domain? Do we understand? Do we know the monsoons? Do we know the hydrology, the oceanography of the Indian Ocean? Do we know the coastal zones and how they will be impacted? Coastal erosion, all these issues, the patterns of trade, the history behind the Indian Ocean, all this is relevant to this priority area, academic and science. And finally, tourism promotion and cultural exchanges. Tourism is a USP of the region. Cultural commonality exists across the region, which goes back centuries, and therefore this is a fit subject. As chair of IOR, our approach has been to take forward cooperation within each of these priority areas, and I'm happy to see that we are seeing some movement. I will touch, if you are interested later, on the kind of activity that we have initiated last year in pursuit of objectives. Let me not take time giving about that, but I would want to mention that a lot of these have been extremely well attended. Happy to see that there is a lot of interest in we are planning some major ones in the Middle East. Future perspectives. Despite the enormous potential for cooperation in such a range of areas, we feel, and I am sure this feeling is widely shared in other member states also, that IOR can do much. And that is a challenge before us. That is as what we have tried to do as the chair, try to build body, build substance and value to this association. As I said, this year marks the 15th year of the creation of IOR. We have chosen a theme for the 12th Council of Ministers meeting, which is IOR at 15, the next decade. We would like to talk and discuss amongst ourselves what could be the focuses of cooperation under our association, what could be the directions of its growth in coming years, ways and means to further consolidate our efforts so that IOR can cope in the fast changing global economic and strategic environment, and in particular enhance its capacity to meet the contemporary expectations of its members and challenges. This is by way of background, and any questions?
What we will do is that, or any of you who ask questions, please raise your hand so that we can identify. And many of you are coming here for the first time. Maybe you should identify yourself also in the mic before you ask the question. So the floor is now open on IOR-ARC at this stage. And after we finish this, we'll give a couple of minutes break and then start the rest of it. Yes, sir. Can you please identify yourself?
I come from Bangladesh. I want to know the state of cooperation between Bangladesh and Indian Ocean Rim Organization.
Between Bangladesh and the Indian Ocean Rim, what I can tell you is that Bangladesh has been a very active partisan in the affairs of the Indian Ocean. It has brought value and substance to all our meetings and interactions. If you are looking, for example, for figures like the ones that I mentioned, of trade between India and the other Indian Ocean countries, I think that question you probably will have to address to the delegation of Bangladesh. It's best place to respond. Having said that, we value Bangladesh's contribution to all our deliberations, particularly areas of scientific and technical cooperation, and trade facilitation has been some very, very useful suggestions and ideas that have been made.
Yes, sir.
Hello. I am from Iran. I have one question. What is India's plan to promote IOR-ARC's status among other international organizations? For example, G8, G20, or SARC. Do you plan to have a political body for this organization, such that organization?
Thank you for that very interesting question. The association's objectives, as defined in its charter, are primarily economic and social, well-being of the there is no proposal at the moment to give it a political content. However, there are various aspects when we talk about the strategic relevance of the Indian Ocean to all its membership. It is inevitable that some issues which are not necessarily purely economic in nature impact on the work of these countries. Take for example, I just mentioned this, maritime security, issues of piracy, issues of humanitarian access and disaster relief. These are not necessarily economic, but they impinge and impact directly on the economic welfare of one and the economic activities and objectives of one. And therefore, they will certainly be form part of the association's work. The other issue about its association with different bodies. Given the value and the relevance of this association, not only to its members, but also globally, because we are now talking of an oceanic domain, which is a domain that is of interest and of relevance globally. We sense, and this is something that we want to discuss, we would like IOR to position itself as an apex body for the group. It is the only association that brings together the entire region. And therefore, as an apex body, should work with overlapping institutions like SAARC, like SADC, like ASEAN, to see that we can build on from. We would also, for example, like to work with the United Nations system, and ecosystem, as we believe that we can bring value and substance to such organizations. This is again a subject of ongoing debate and will be debated during this forthcoming meeting, and I hope with positive outcomes. I cannot predict this will happen. But certainly, in my view, my understanding is that it is very much in the mind of the organization. Yes, sir.
Sir, my name is Moses. I'm from the New Straits Times of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I noticed that IOR has steered clear of defense. Is this consciously done, or given the fact that the increasing concern over American and Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean, which would of course affect all countries around the borders of the ocean, should this be on the table? And will it be on the table at this meeting? Thank you.
Again, the charter envisages this grouping as a primarily economic and social group. If there are needs and requirements, again, I will revert to this whole question of maritime security. We are not talking about defense. We are talking about capacity building and cooperation. Two hands being better than one in managing, improving, and improving maritime security, the maritime security environment in the Indian Ocean. Because that impacts on the work of the association, that impacts on the way you have piracy, you have, take for example, the incidents of piracy that have taken place. Today, you see, because of this, rising insurance rates for shipping, it impacts on the economic well-being of all our countries. And therefore, it is a fit subject, a relevant subject. So, if you ask me directly, ask me a point-blank question, whether defense is going to be a brought-in, I can give you an answer. If it is relevant to the charter, then it's fine.
Yes, ma'am. Please. We'll give you, everybody will get a chance.
Hello, my name is Shri. I'm from Gurgaon. When the Indian Embassy sent us the invitation for this conference, well, we didn't know what is the conference, and even my boss, so we have to Google it. And I have heard that this was the case of many of the journalists in the group itself. So don't you think that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have to work more in promoting this conference and maybe make more fast and serious decision that really make a difference in the Indian Ocean?
A splendid question, and you are spot on. I completely agree. I completely agree that the Indian Ocean the commonalities of the Indian Ocean and what we need to do should permeate down very deep into the thinking population, journalists, academics, because without that kind of awareness, having said that, Gurgaon is a founder member of IOR-ARC, should have known what this conference is about.
Yes. One more.
बैठ के
Please sit down.
बैठ के पीछे कैमरा
Mr. Mahbub Rahman,
Please sit down.
I'm from Bangladesh. I'm working in a Bengali daily. The name is Amar Desh. I would like to know your organization, IOR-ARC.
Our organization, please.
It means our organization, yeah. Working with various aspects, but especially maritime security is the mostly it is the most important part of this organization work. So I would like to know maritime boundary with Bangladesh, has a complaint at international tribunal. Maritime boundary with Bangladesh has a complaint at international tribunal, which will be solved at 2014. Which I know. Is not there any option or opportunity to solve the maritime boundary problem in discussion by this organization? Logically we can reasonably we can solve by this organization. Is there any opportunity? And in this conference, can we discuss? Is it? Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. No, there are mechanisms for dealing with these kind of issues, which routinely arise in many parts of the world. But no, this association as a business policy excludes bilateral organization. It's looking at areas where all countries share a common interest, and we can build capacity which should be organic. It excludes bilateral.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Fasil Arashi. I am from Yemen. I am representing an English newspaper. And my questions is how do you look to the cooperation economy, the current cooperation economy that's going between Yemen and India, as we have like historical and strong business and investment rates for centuries. And what do you and how do you are looking to the cooperation that's currently is going in the association? And when you discuss piracy, we know that Yemen has been affected badly by piracy, and the shipping to Yemen is the most expensive due to the security issues. And you are helping us because what I know, the insurance companies are not accepting to load the ships into Yemen when it comes to shipping. So they rather go to Djibouti rather than going to Yemen, and the prices is getting up, is increasing tremendously because of the shipping costs. Can you just help us or brief us on how you are helping Yemen to get out of this problem? Thank you.
Thank you. Very relevant. Yemen, of course, is at the forefront of this effort, the anti-piracy effort, and has clearly been impacted very severely by what is happening. The entire the whole challenge of piracy in the off the Horn of Africa, which borders Yemen, is clearly impacted very heavily. This has been identified as a priority for our efforts in IOR, and will certainly be related in some intensity and some in-depth views, hopefully. We are also looking at workshops and seminars for capacity building in this particular area. A couple have already been held, and we are looking at organizing one around April next year on the whole issue of maritime security and piracy, planning to hold a seminar in India which can act as a focus for cooperation within IOR. You asked me a little bit about bilateral figures of trade and investment between India and Yemen. I'm afraid I don't think I have the bilateral figures, but you can certainly get them from me. There's no problem at all. At this point of time, I'm not in a position. Because historically, the relations between Yemen and the west coast of India are very, very far. Born on the monsoon winds which blow in one direction for half of the year and the other direction for the other half, our traders have been moving back and forth between the Yemen coast and the west coast of India. And there is actually a wealth of historical documentation and literature for that. There's some superb literature, stories and so on. We had an exhibition of archives under the Indian Ocean Association auspices recently. And the archival material available in the National Archive Division, which bring out vividly the kind of exchanges that used to exist between India and India. But the potential is good.
We'll just wait, there are other things.
Hi, I am from the Straits Times, Singapore. You said that 90% of economic imports and 80% of international trade goes to the Indian Ocean. Is that correct?
The figures that you mentioned pertain to India. 90% of India's energy exports come across India.
I see. But okay, and you also said that piracy is impacting the economies of the IORC nations. So, so my question is, the melting ice in the North Pole is opening up new sea routes. So, does the IOR-ARC have any plan? Will this, first of all, will this affect the economies of the IOR-ARC countries? And if it does, then what is the plan that the organization has to?
That's looking very far. But yes, that is an area of interest, undoubtedly. The melting ice.
It has already started, and
it's already started, and there are a host of implications. One can be raised and study them. And I would certainly like, we are heading a group for that matter, of IOR, to take this on as a subject. The academic group will deliberate on this. If not this time, it will do next time. We meet every year.
We will permit two last questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for giving me the chance. I'm Elham Mohammadi from Iran. I work for the Times International Daily. I want to put this question to you. Do you have any special plan to enhance trade interaction with Iran within the framework of this association, given the fact that Iran is under sanctions and India needs Iran oil and we import goods from India? That's my question. Thank you.
No, I think that's a little bit outside the purview of the work of this association. Certainly, India will be the association will be looking at matters of trade facilitation, ease of business, and so on and so forth. But where it comes to bilateral issues and these kind of issues, I think that is a little beyond.
Last question on this.
Thank you. I am Imadil from Indonesia. I have one question. As we know, Somalia is the host of the pirates. Is there any plan of the association to include Somalia into this association? Or is there any plan of a legal or political action against Somalia for this case?
The issue of piracy, I don't think that we categorize in black and white terms. There are a whole host of elements that are behind this growth of the scourge in the Western Indian Ocean. It's issues of livelihood, issues of governance. It's a whole host of factors that come into play. So these are not easy issues for which you can find immediate answers. the issue of combating piracy is certainly a subject and a very important subject in IOR discussions, workshops, etc. But perhaps not in such a black and white manner in which it is. As far as Somalia joining the association, yes, at some point in the future, as we are looking at an inclusive association of the Indian nation, then it is in a position one. It has a government, there is a transitional government, of course, but a government that is in a position to contribute and benefit from this.
Thank you very much. With that, we come to the end of this part of the interaction. Couple of minutes, and then we'll have on the record responses to any other questions that you may like to have.
I have a question. Which is, why is it that not a single Indian during this class?
No, the mic. Thank you.